The internet has made a whole new world of information accessible to the public, and today's primary school students have been born into this new generation defined by accessibility to information. They grow up with new technologies and as a result become computer literate without even trying. It's a natural consequence of humans adapting to their environment, which is becoming increasingly online. But the ability to navigate and to surf the net doesn't necessarily come with the ability to be discerning, to question information presented to them, to interact with information, or to delve deeper and make meaning of information. The internet can't tell between an adult traipsing the net, savvily using resources to build a case in their favour, and a child idling away the hours in front of YouTube. In a sentence, exposure to the internet can't teach a child to think. But the research is undeniable, telling us that 13 million Australians spend up to 18 hours a day online, replacing written media like never before, and catering for various functions such as obtaining news information, for recreational purposes, and for study and for work. So how can the education sector harness the power of the internet and bring schooling into the 21st century for students? The incredible acceleration and integration of digital practices into our society means that there has been some disparity, some slack between the eagerness to include digital technologies into schooling practice and the awareness that is needed to render these technologies useful and beneficial to student learning. In instances where the use of technology is tokenistic, it can be proven that this will have little or no educational benefits to students, and they could have earned more insight from traditional print media or traditional schooling practices. For instance, on my professional placement, I was privy to both instances of technological exposure, where students gain lots of educational benefit on the one hand and not very much at all in the other instance. The beneficial circumstance to students was an iPad practice in the classroom, including the use of a set game targeted to a specific activity included as part of the reading group cycle, and the ineffective activity saw students gathered together in the grade 1 cohort, forced to watch a really ill-pitched, disengaging film, and all the students were disengaged, bored, distracted, didn't have very much educational benefit at all for them. Witnessing the difference in student engagement between two instances of technological education, one conclusion is evident in my mind. Technological inclusion, as has been proven in many educational circumstances before this one, must be interactive and challenging for students to reap the educational benefits. The Victoria State Government Department of Education and Training's guidelines for supporting digital learning states that digital technologies used for clear learning purposes, coupled with effective pedagogy, can reshape teaching and learning. And the department is adept at using words such as enhance and extend to describe the role of digital technologies in education. In fact, everyone seems to be in agreement that digital technologies should function as a means to enhance existing learning in the classroom rather than taking over the lesson as a replacement of the learning. So why is access to technology regarded by Australian policymakers as a solution to low grades and disadvantage? An OECD report released in 2015 found that investment in computers and iPads in schools does not improve literacy and numeracy skills, proving that technology alone is not the answer. This data supports my theory that technological capability in students outside of school time does not equate to a seamless transition in technological ability for educational purposes. Outside of school, exposure to digital technology and the internet is unfiltered by schools, and school-aged children have access to everything from games to videos to social media. There is no evidence to suggest that this exposure stimulates the brain in a way that is conducive to educative outcomes. Perhaps what's more important than the means of instruction is the intent and capability behind it. The Students' Computers and Learning Making the Connection report says, if we want students to become smarter than a smartphone, we must think harder about the pedagogies we are using to teach them. Technology can amplify great teaching, but great technology cannot replace poor teaching. So let me put to you the practices that the Victoria State Government Department for Education and Training include as part of their definition of digital learning. Blended and virtual learning, game-based learning, accessing digital content, collaborating locally and globally, assessment and reporting online, active participation in online communities, using technology to collaborate, connect, curate and create. In conclusion, the necessary ingredient to making the integration of digital technologies a successful practice is a balanced approach including equal amounts of talk to digital interaction. The Australian Association for Research in Education agrees with me, advocating for attending to talk and interaction to support children's social and communication skills, to promote general knowledge, build successful relationships, and facilitate learning for children. Reflective practice, including responding to specifically targeted and designed questions, acting as a representative to present feedback to the class, and discussion with other students makes an activity meaningful.